Welcome back to the Yo Hockey Show. Now today, I'm going to be telling you exactly why your Eastern Conference team is screwed. And we're going to start off with the Atlantic Division. I've ranked the teams in their current ranking right now as of today, this morning, and going to be just going down and telling you exactly why your team is absolutely screwed. So let's start off with the Boston Bruins. Now the Bruins, they're just too old. This team, Bergeron, Krejci, these old has-beens, trying to make their comebacks and just finish out their career strong. Well, guess what? Old guys don't last. They finally fall apart. They're going to be crippled eventually, and that's exactly what's happening to this team. This team is going to break before it bends. Maybe not even so much. I think they'll just run out of gas. This team is going to fall apart at some point, and it's going to be sad and sad and sad. It's going to be miserable to watch, and we're all going to feel bad. It's like, man, they were really going out there. But guys like Bergeron, I mean, what is he, like 97? Guys like Krejci, who's like 142, these guys are going to fail, and it's just going to be sad. Hampus Lindholm playing absolutely incredible, but it's just not going to last, and they're just going to fall apart, and the Bruins aren't going to make it all the way to the distance. They're going to get far. They're going to get far, but then they're going to fail, and then next season those guys will be gone, or if they're still here, they're just going to be walking corpses. It's going to be sad, and it's going to be a slow death for the Bruins, but they're going to break before they bend because they're just too old. And then we've got the Toronto Maple Leafs, the laughing stock of the league. This team is just a failure. And I know I say that, and it might sound cliche or whatever, but listen, this team has shown that this core of Tavares, Matthews, Marner, Riley, Nylander, whatever assortment you want to put, that the core five, if you want to put it, has failed. From 2017, I believe, to now, the joke I get it is the first round and out, right? They can't get past the first round. Well, there's a reason. What is the definition of insanity? It is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. And this team has not only done the same thing, but they've also progressively gotten worse. Other than last season. Last season was finally the year Matthews getting 60 goals. The first time in like more than a decade. And this was the team on fire, and they still lost in the first round. And this year, and moving on forward, this team's only going to get worse. Matthews, after realizing that this season especially, that this is going to be the breaking point, he will leave for Arizona. Mitch Marner will become betrayed by his own city and will have to move somewhere else or go into hiding. John Tavares, the captain, he will dwindle. He's already dwindling, but he is going to become nothing but a husk of his former self. And Morgan Riley's just going to be okay because he always... And Nylander. Nylander and Riley, I feel like, are always the two consistent ones. I know Matthews and Marner are good, and I know Marner's doing good right now. But though Nylander, I gotta say, give a round of applause for Nylander because he's always been the guy that is always, regardless of anything, in the playoffs, Nylander was always the guy like, well, I feel bad for Nylander. If anyone's doing anything, it's him. So Nylander, good for you. You're really the core of that team. And so they just need to restart. The Maple Leafs, it's proven, it's a fact. This team has failed. This core has failed. They need to restart. I mean, this year it's even gotten worse, so poor them. Moving on to the Detroit Red Wings. They're just not there yet. They're just not, it's just not enough. I mean, sure, Veronowit is nice, whatever, but these guys, they just don't have enough. That star power isn't there yet. I mean, sure, they're on their way there. Guys like Evanson eventually, guys like Soderblom eventually, guys like, Raymond, Ramon, it's Raymond, right? Lucas, is it Ramon? What, doesn't matter. They're just not there yet. It's just not enough, and maybe eventually in a couple years it will be, but for right now it is just not enough for at least this year and probably next year. Maybe the year after that they finally get the distance in the playoffs, but it's just not there yet. The Lightning, it is time for the fall of the Empire. All empires eventually collapse, and this team has finally had its breaking point. Last season, of course, the playoffs, they get to the finals for the third year in a row, but that was the breaking point. There's teams now that are better than them, and they are going to finally lose to those teams. And overall, their whole thing is that they were able to replenish their team, that bottom six. That's what their whole shtick was, that every year, regardless of anything, they were going to come back stronger because of their replenishment. Well, they finally have run out. Now they're stuck with guys like Patrick Maroon and Corey Perry, washed-up has-beens, finally just dwindling this team all the way to the bottom. And this team is finally going to fall apart. They'll make it to the playoffs, but they're not going to get far, and they're going to finally get knocked in the second round or so. So moving on from them is the Florida Panthers. Last year, I would say their biggest problem was defense, right? I mean, they had amazing offense. They still do, but their thing was that they had the most comeback victories in like a long time or something like that, right? Well, how do you have to come back is because you were down in goals. So last year, defense was a problem, and now they traded away one of their their second best defenseman, maybe even first if you want to think of him like that, and with nothing else in return. So they've just downgraded what their problem already was. So an interesting tactic to take, and it's obviously not panning out, as they were number 1 last year, and now they're number 4 in their own division. So not good. Right behind them is the Montreal Canadiens. Now, they're playing too good. And I know it's like, what? They're in like 19th place or something. But listen, this team still needs some more draft picks, more young players to bring up still. And they're playing ahead of their time. And if they get screwed out of getting especially in a draft like this year, you want to try to get one of those top, I would say at least 5 picks. And right now, I think they're out of the top 10. Yeah, they're out of the top 10 right now. So this is the type of team for a Canadiens fan, sure, it's like, oh, we won a game. But it's like, no, you need to lose some games so you can get some more guys to fill in those roles, especially with a guy like Yurov Slavkovsky not playing to his hype. So it's kind of scary. They're playing too good and it's not good. They're playing too good and playing not good enough at the same time. You know what I mean? So just terrible. I feel bad for Canadiens fans. Buffalo. I know it's very just stupid to say, but I have no other way to sum it up other than you are Buffalo. This team is not going to win. The players on this team are incredible. Tage Thompson, absolutely love the guy. I think he's one of the more underrated guys in the league. He just scored 5 goals. But the team in Buffalo is not going to win. If this team was anywhere else, you relocate them to New Orleans, this team is going to win a ton of games. But because they're in Buffalo, it's just not going to happen. It is a city that just doesn't produce winners, and it is unfortunate. Moving on to the Senators, they're just a mess. The problem with this team is that with the whole talks of Ryan Reynolds maybe becoming the owner of the team, well, technically just with other people paying for him, I guess, but with him being this team just has too many things. They just don't have the right mesh of players. Take a look at a team like the Lightning. What made them so good? Or like the Blackhawks, is that you have like that combination there. You have Hedman on defense, that amazing defenseman. You have Stamkos, the goal scorer. You have Kucherov, the overall amazing player. You have Braden Point, the really the more playoff hero guy, right? This team just doesn't have any of that. Sure, Tim Stützle or Stutzla, however you want to say his name, he is great, but does he make you think he's going to be that winning player that pushes a team over the edge? Maybe one day, but overall, this team just is kind of a mixed mash of everything. You don't really have like, oh, there's the goal scorer, oh, there's this. It's just kind of a mixed mash, and I think they're just kind of be in that limbo state like the Wild for so many years, is that they're just kind of be like, they're good, but just not good enough. Moving on to the Metropolitan Division, we've got the New Jersey Devils, a team playing incredible as well, but they're just too young. And I hate saying that, but it is true. This team, none of these players have ever had any sort of playoff experience. Well, some of them, sure. But you know what I mean. This team as a core has never had that experience. And they're going to go in, and let's just say it started right now. I believe they'd be playing either Tampa Bay or the Islanders or Florida. I kind of forget which one. But any of these teams here from number 4 on each side or number 5 for each side, do you think the Devils could beat the Lightning? No way. Do you think the Devils could beat the Panthers? Probably not. The Islanders, I think they'd hold them down. I think the only chance they have against is the Rangers. So right now, the Devils, they just don't have that playoff nitty-grittiness, especially with their type of players. I don't want to say they're undersized, but for that playoff start, they just don't have that kind of toughness. I hate saying toughness, but you know what I mean. That playoff fight that I don't think they have yet. That heart that is in players, that grit that playoff teams need. And they don't have it yet because they just never have had it. I think this team in the future might. Jack Hughes and Heischer or Heischer, however you say his name, Hamilton, all these guys together, sure, eventually. But right now, they just don't have it. Now we got the Hurricanes. They're good, but there's better. There's teams that are just better than them that have that overall structure down. I would say the Hurricanes' biggest problem is that they don't really have any superstars. They're kind of pretty good down the whole lineup, but they don't have any super studs on the team. Sure, Aho's amazing. I'm not saying he's not. I've always said Martin H. is great. He's finally playing great. So it's not that they don't have great players. I'm not saying that at all. But their players, they just, if you put them out on the ice, there are teams that have the same kind of structure but better. Take like the Bruins. Take like the Panthers. Take like the Red Wings even maybe. Or Maple Leafs. There's just teams better if you compare them one-on-one. Maybe on the bottom six they're better. But there's teams that just do what they do but better. So they're just kind of screwed there. Pittsburgh. They're just going to lose in the first round. I mean, especially it's unfortunate with Letang and his problem, of course. But this team has shown, like the Maple Leafs, that this team right now in its current state is just not going to have any playoff success. And the next season, their guys are even going to get older. Malkin's going to get even older. Obviously, that's how time works, but they're already old. So this team is just screwed. They don't have any draft picks coming up. The Penguins are just looking, they're going like this right now. They are going just like that. So it is sad. It's just what's going to happen, though. So Penguins first round and out. The Islanders, not as good as the past team, and that's kind of the problem with some of these other teams on the board, is that the Islanders are definitely a good team, but they had better team themselves. This team in the past few years, the 2 years they went to the conference finals, they are not as good as that team was, and now that they're kind of they don't have Barry Trotz anymore, that system is also out the door, so they just don't have that same. There was a better Islanders team a few years ago, and they almost made it, but they didn't. So there's no way this team is going to. And they also don't have any prospects or anything coming up. So the future's looking dark, too. So moving on to the Rangers. Now, of course, the Rangers, the last year was their year. And I kept saying this. All of their guys, sometimes your players have career seasons, right? That's kind of my problem with the Penguins. Letang, but now he's out, but he had his best year ever last season. Brian Rust did, I think. And now the Rangers, the same thing. Chris Kreider got to 55 goals. He just had his breakout year, his one career season, right? And all of their guys did. And Shesterkin especially. Sometimes you get in there and sometimes you just go on that stretch and you're really good. And every player has that. Every NHL player has their career season. But the Rangers, all of that happened in 1 year, so it's unfortunate. Right now, I would say Marner's having his career year with the Maple Leafs. Well, the Rangers, all of their career years were last season, and now this season they're not fools. They don't look like fools, but they're kind of playing the way that they should have been. So it's not that this team was good and then went down. They were always right here. They're always here. They were never up here. They played up here last year, but they're always down here. But last season, they finally had that big year because all their guys jumped up. So they were screwed from the start. The Capitals, they're just having their slow death right now, and it's sad, right? I mean, it's kind of sad that their top guys like Backstrom, like Tom Wilson, like Oshie. No, he's not the last one out. Whatever. Those guys are injured right now. Ovechkin's kind of the only guy doing anything on this team. They're being killed by their injuries, and now they're also the team as a whole is just finally slowing down. So it's a slow death for the Capitals. I mean, there's really no other way to say that. It is kind of self-explanatory. The Flyers, no prospects, and they're bad now. Now they're the new Buffalo. So, this team, they just have nothing going for them. This is going to be the new bottom of the league team here with the Flyers. This team is just, they have nothing going for it. They're bad now. They don't have any prospects coming up. They just have nothing. They're going to be flat and dead for a long time. That's just how it's going to be with the Philadelphia Flyers. And now, finally, we've got the Columbus Blue Jackets. And there's just a pattern here. This team just, I don't even know. With Johnny Hockey, I really thought this team could jump up. I really did. I mean, if you go back in one of my videos, I said that Jack Roslovich could maybe score 40 goals. And I know that is ridiculous to think now. But it seemed real. But I guess some cities, like Buffalo, like Columbus, they're just screwed. They just don't have a chance of doing anything. And Columbus, there's just a pattern. You need to relocate the team. That's the only way. They can no longer be the Columbus Blue Jackets. Make them the... What's a good city? Oh, you know what? You could relocate them and make them the Houston Red Shirts. That's an awful name. I apologize. So, that is all I have to say about your team in the Eastern Conference. They're all screwed, and they all have a reason to be, and you should all be scared. So, that is all I have to say. So, until next time, please make sure you pick up your free subscription down below by hitting that red subscribe button. Leave a like, not a dislike, but go down below to the comment section and leave any tangents, random opinions, or other sorts of comments, concerns, suggestions, reviews, and feedback. And until next time, I have been the villain today, and thank you for watching. And I hope you're having a great day, unlike your team. So thank you for watching, and until next time, ta-ta for now. Wow.